Hi, students. I just wanted to make a quick video for you to go over some of the exercises in our Unit 1 on personal information. So I'm just going to do a little bit of some lessons and go ahead, watch this and just leave a message in the comments that you viewed, and I will count that towards attendance. I'm going to go ahead and share the Burlington screen. And then we will work through the exercises. And again, I want you to continue to work in your Burlington exercises for your student lessons. And again, I'll show you where those are. Here in student lessons in the high intermediate, okay? And this is a lesson 2, grammar, adjectives, and adverbs is what we had been working on. And go ahead and go through and complete those. Just going to show you a couple of the practice lessons. We have already done that. Again, we are just looking at adjectives that describe a person, place, or thing, adverbs that answer the questions about how, when, and in what way. And with this exercise, we're just dropping in. I will go ahead and make this a little bit smaller. Sorry. That way we can see all the answers. Clicking around and I've clicked out of it. So, okay. I'd like to get through all of this so we can complete our Unit 1 and personal information. So we're looking at this. You see a couple of pictures, and here are the words: courteous, hard, lucky, nicely, badly, carefully, slowly, rudely. So we can see we're reading about Stephanie, Pietro, and Max. Okay, so there's 3 different people here. Stephanie, Pietro, and Max all work in a supermarket. Stephanie and Pietro are both hard workers. They stock the shelves carefully so everything is in the right place. When a customer can't find something, they explain nicely where it is. Max is different. He works very slowly. It takes him a long time to do almost everything. And when he does do something, he usually does it badly. The other day, while he was organizing some cans of food, the cans all fell on the floor. He was, let's see, lucky no one got hurt. And that's not Max's only problem. When a customer asks him a question, he often speaks to them rudely. The store manager told him to be more courteous, but it hasn't helped. If Max wants to keep his job, he'll have to make some changes. So remember that the adverbs are describing the actions, the verbs. The adjectives are describing a person, place, or thing. We probably won't go through, we've looked at this. So let's go ahead and go to the review. And we'll just repeat the review. Even if we have already done the review, I'll show you the answers. Pablo knows how to drive very well. So we've looked at these. Olivia answered a question rudely yesterday. Trevor always speaks to customers politely. Yolanda is very courteous to her students. Okay, speaking about Yolanda. Han likes to sit and read quietly. Makiko tries to be helpful to customers. So go ahead and make sure you practice on your lessons, and we will go ahead and go to lesson 3, which is reading. Read immigrant stories. So we're going to learn about making inferences and distinguish between easily confused words. So these are just some basic questions. What is an immigrant? Why do people move to the United States? Give 2 reasons. Why do you think the United States is popular destination. That's something we might discuss in class. You can just see what the answers here. An immigrant is a person who leaves their country of birth and moves to a new country. Why do people move to the United States? They move here for work, they have family here, they want to be close to them. And why do you think the United States is a popular destination for immigrants? There are good work opportunities here. Salaries are higher than in many other countries. So that is definitely true. People come here for opportunities. So here are, again, those practices with using context clues, and here are your vocabulary words: support, convinced, shortages, reluctant, settled, and I believe there is one more, miss. Okay, so this is just reading the sentences, thinking about what's true for you, so you can see that in your student lessons. So we will read, and here is an immigrant story. So this is something that you can read, this immigrant story. There's 2 immigrant stories. Oh, no, there's 3. Sorry, I thought there were only 2. So there's a couple of immigrant stories here to look at, and you will have a similar type of immigrant story to read, okay? You're looking for information in the reading. You can also listen. So if we go over to the student lesson, okay, and you have these stories that you can look at and answer questions. So these are the same stories, so you can just choose the correct answers. And in your reading, again, you're looking at the same stories and choosing the correct answers. So you can go ahead and work on that on your own. You will also be able to listen, excuse me, to those stories. This is the listening exercise. And now in the vocabulary focus. So here are those easily confused words, and we'll go through this specifically. Some words sound similar, but they mean different things. Learn the differences between the words to help you understand what you read. So these are some easily confused words: immigrate, which means move to a country, and emigrate, which means you leave a country. Accept, which means let in, and accept is but not. Allowed, have permission, and allowed, loud enough for people to hear. So for some of these words, they sound almost exact. Allowed and allowed, that pronunciation is the same. But immigrate and emigrate are very different in the way you pronounce them. Immigrate or emigrate. And accept, okay, accept or accept, okay, accept with an A, or accept, That is the sound at the beginning of that, okay? So let's look at how they answer the questions here. Immigrate or emigrate. Okay, emigrated, because it wasn't Seth. Kamal emigrated, which means he left Syria. Anton immigrated to the US 5 years ago. He lives in New York. I think that one will probably cause the most confusion for people because we rarely use emigrate in when we're speaking in English. We use immigrate quite often. You hear immigrate more often than you will hear emigrate. Now with accept, which means let in, or accept but not. Everyone in Miguel's family speaks English except his father. That means his father does not. Juliana applied to college. She hopes the college will accept her or choose her or let her in. And with allowed and allowed. Anita practices English words allowed. This allowed. Children are not allowed, all right, or given or have permission to drive cars. Okay, so here are some things when you look, let's look in your student lessons. Some of our practices for the in-class lessons are things that we would do in class together. We're trying to do some catching up, so we're not going to listen or do those practices in class, speak about them. But you can do this in yours, student lessons, and you can listen.
Accept, allow, allowed, accept.
Okay, and then you can look at the other exercise that's here. So where you dropping the words in, okay? And that is more practice for you with those words. Okay, so these were things, these are sentences. I immigrated from because I immigrated to this many years ago. So those are the types of ways you would see the sentences used in that case. I like almost every kind of food except, which means you don't like something. If the college accepts me or chooses me or lets me in, I will study. Saying English words aloud. Okay, so aloud, out loud, that means out loud, so people can hear you or you can hear yourself. My children are not allowed or given permission. Okay, we can move on to grammar information questions. Okay, so in information questions, you are just going to ask a question where you're wanting someone to give you more than a yes or no answer. So many times we talk about doing the yes, no questions, and you can give just a very short answer. Yes, I did. No, I didn't. But here you're asking for information. You're trying to get more knowledge about something. So you're asking questions about information. And the get ready, we can look at this conversation between Frank and Corazon. When did you move to the United States, Corazon? So that's a question asking for information, and her answer, 10 years ago, I moved here from Ecuador. What brought you here? I came here to study. I went to college in Dallas. I just moved to Miami. So you can see the answers are quite detailed in information. Why did you move? For a job. I work in the hotel industry. I'm not surprised. There are hundreds of hotels in this city. Where do you work? At the Mayfair Hotel in South Beach. I'm a front desk clerk. So again, they're using those question words, who, what, when, where, why, how. And we can see when, what, why, where. So when is always asking for some type of time frame. What is asking for a reason. And why is also asking you for a reason, but a little differently. And where is asking for location. So you can see how we use the question words. So who, what, when, who, what, where, when, why, or how. That's kind of funny because I always say who, what, when, where, why, or how, and they have it a little differently. Who, what, where, when, why, how. So use those question words to ask for information. When the question word is the subject of the verb, do not use do, does, or did. Okay, when the question word, so when you're asking about a person or some kind of thing happening, is the subject of the verb. Who lives in Miami? Who, that question word is asking about the subject. And what, same thing, is asking about the subject. We won't use do or did, do, does, or did for that. All right, so this is putting words in correct order. Again, with an exercise like this, you can see here's the punctuation at the end. Here are a couple of things with capital letters. Always the capital letter is going to start the sentence, but we have two here. But what is the exercise? Put the words in the correct order to make questions. So questions, we have to start with the question word. Okay, what did Annie get for her birthday? So you can see the capital letter is at the beginning and the words with the punctuation or the question mark. What do the children usually, let's see, where do the children usually eat lunch? Okay, so with this, we're just moving the words into the right order. Remember, the question word must be first. Why did Jack? So remember that when we ask a question, a little bit of the word order is moved around. We usually have the verb first. Okay, so we've done the first three. So let's look at all the answers, and you can see here all the question words: what, where, why, who, when, what, where. Okay, and we're not being concerned about the answers, just looking at how we say these questions. And then we can look here in pairs, ask and answer. Well, we can't do that right now in pairs, but we can look at these questions. So what did Annie get for her birthday? If we look in the context at this picture, it's a cell phone. Okay, she got a cell phone for her birthday, right? A phone. So for example, in this, they're only asking, where did the children usually eat lunch? You can see the picture right there. It looks like at the cafeteria. Why did Jack miss work last Monday? It looks like Jack was sick. Who takes care of the baby during the week? Those look like grandparents, don't they? The grandparents or her grandparents. When does Ted finish work? We see this right here at 5 o'clock. Oh, what happened to Luciana yesterday? She had a car accident, it looks like, right? And where did Ramon travel to last summer? What is that picture? New York City, right? So again, just practice, look at the context, look at the pictures, okay? So here, we're going to do some questions. We're gonna ask the question, use who or what. Who got the job? Who got the job? Kim got the job. Spices, what? So let's show those answers. What makes food taste better? Who opens the store? Who lives there? What broke? So you can see when it's who, there's a person, okay, or people. And again, who got, singular for the one person. Who opens, who lives, plural, okay, or with the S. Sorry, it's not really plural, but it's the matching of the subject, okay? Who opens, Dale and Lee, okay? Who opens, okay? That's talking about a plural subject here, and here, a plural subject. Okay, and then again, some conversations. I think we'll go ahead and skip that one. You can fill in the right words to answer the questions. And then here is something that you can think about for yourself. And when you do your student exercises, this is a practice we would work on in class, and we'd ask these questions. What do you do? When we ask that question, what do we do? We're asking, what is your job? And then there's other questions you can ask. Where do you work? Who trains you? What do you like about your job? What do you want to do in the future? All right, so again, this is where there's an error in the sentence and something is missing. So number one, where do you work? Who do you study English with, or who studies English with you? I think is probably, yeah, who studies English with you? When do Todd and Lisa start work every day? Where did the kids go last night is what that should say. What does Gaia feel? How does Gaia feel yesterday? How does Gaia feel today, I would think? Oh, how did Gaia feel yesterday? So we're changing, sorry, that verb there. And what did happen in class last week? What happened? We don't need did. What happened in class last week? So we don't need that word did because we have that action happened in class last week. Okay. Now we can look at 5, watch and speak making small talk. And small talk is, you know, when you're at the grocery store, you say something to someone in line, you're waiting at the post office, you might chat with the person standing near you. You're going to watch a video about making small talk and make small talk with your classmates. So this is something you're going to just have to practice in real life, okay, as we go through this. And we're going to look at appropriate topics for small talk. Use informal responses. So we don't have to use very perfect formal grammar, but here are some of the ideas that you can talk about. So what do you think are some ideas you could talk about with your coworkers or with, you know, maybe even with your teacher, right? With me. I think the weather, sports, that might be the only 2 that are good, or maybe your family, you know, what your children are doing if they're playing sports, or, you know, if you're visiting some family, okay? What topics do you only talk with close friends or family? Money, religion, personal problems, okay? There's a saying in the United States, we say this a lot, that we do not talk about money or religion. We don't talk about those kinds of things with people that we don't know very well. Those are topics that you would only talk with family or very close friends. Maybe it depends too on your work environment. Okay, maybe your work environment are things that you could talk with. If you know, for example, someone that you work with goes to the same church you do, then you could talk about religion possibly with that person. I talk about my medical problems with close friends. I talk about work with coworkers. So those are other things that you can talk about. And I think today, just considering the situation we're in with this virus, that it is not really a subject to personally talk with people that you don't know very, very well, whether they've been sick or whether they're getting a vaccine or some of those kind of issues. Those are pretty personal questions, and those are some kind of things that you might want to save for family. Okay, let's look at the vocabulary here. Okay, so here are some of the words. All right, I think I might make this a little bit smaller so that we can get them all on the screen here. Okay, so here are 6 words: offend, culture, inappropriate, argue, controversial, and hobbies. So you can offend people if you say something bad about their children. So you can make them, you know, get upset. Offend was make someone get upset. Every country has its own culture. All right. Culture is all the things that create a society, their music, their television, their social events, the types of jobs, the clothes they wear. Those are all things that make up our culture. The religions, the different religions. Possibly in some cultures, there's only one religion. In other cultures, there's many religions. Possibly in some cultures, there's particular things that you can't do, okay? And in other cultures, they're very open, but culture is made up of all the things that a country is about: food, music, social events, television shows, religion, government, even. So all those kind of things make up our culture. In some places, it's inappropriate to wear jeans, which means it's not allowed. The word we just heard, it's not allowed. It does not look good for a person, let's say, that they're working with the public, like a bank teller or someone in a store. You notice if you go to Target, they wear, well, they have a uniform, but they wear their own red shirt and khaki colored pants or tan colored pants. Target doesn't provide it, but that is what they wear for work. Sometimes children at home argue about whose turn it is to do the dishes or take out the dog. And argue, I think we talked about that word, or yeah, might have been in one of my other classes. We did have that word come up, and that means that they fight, they have a disagreement, they talk, and they're disagreeing about something. Some laws are controversial, okay? So that means some people don't like those laws. Some people don't agree about those laws. People talk about them a lot and argue about them, right? So there are some laws today, these things are going on right now in our country, right? There are different things that they're talking about for, even the mandates and things with masks and distancing and vaccines, and some of those things people are arguing about today. Reading, music, bowling, and hiking are popular hobbies in the US. What is your hobby? So a hobby is something that we do for relaxation or for fun. You can think about what your hobbies are. Maybe we'll talk about that in class on Wednesday. I'll tell you for myself, I like to read. I like to watch TV. I like to change my house a lot, redecorate for the different seasons. I like crafts. I really enjoy relaxing and sitting outside and enjoying nature. So those are some of my hobbies. Okay, we probably will not watch fully because it does take some time, but we'll explain about small talk. So small talk is when you talk about things with friends. How are you? What are you doing next weekend? You have a conversation with someone like that. If it's someone close to you, you can talk about personal things. How's your family? How's your mom? How's she doing? Or how are your kids? But if it's someone you don't know very well, then you are going to talk about things like the weather, things like sports, maybe a little bit about your family if this person knows a little bit about you. But this is what this watch about small talk is. So this talks about when people make small talk, their responses are often short and informal. For example, if you tell someone it's hot outside, they may respond with, "It sure is." So again, if you're talking about the weather, or you say something about the latest baseball game, and you say, "Wow, wasn't that a great game on Sunday? Did you watch it?" And they might be like, "Yeah, it really was a good game," or "I really liked it," or "Yeah, the ending was great." I don't know. Or even if you talk about a TV show, maybe you talk about TV shows. We do that a lot. I do that a lot with people that I work with. I work part-time at a church, and sometimes when we're having lunch together, we talk about what are people watching on TV right now, or what are people reading. And sometimes we are watching the same TV shows, or we are reading the same books, or we talk about the message on Sunday that we heard and what did we think about it. And we might say like, "Yeah, it was great," or or we talk about something we might be doing over the weekend. And the response would be, if I said, "What are you doing this weekend?" And one of my colleagues or friends or coworkers would say, "We are going down to the city to take a boat ride on the river." And I would say, "Wow, that sounds wonderful." Okay, so these are some responses that you can hear. "It sure is. I know. It's about time. Finally. Nothing special. Not much. Sounds wonderful." Sometimes people ask, what did you do this weekend? So Monday at work. "What did you do this weekend?" "Well, not much. I cleaned my house. I watched some TV." You can respond with an informal response. Okay, summarize. So again, when we summarize, right, we're talking about, let's see if this is a worksheet, I do believe. You don't have those to look at, but this is what have we talked about here? What have we looked at? We've talked about small talk. So we're going to just have one paragraph to summarize. And I'm going to actually put in the answers. So what you would do in your exercise is you drop and drag. So to be an active reader, it would be a good idea for you to read with the blanks first and then see which words you think fit in. In the United States, when you make small talk with people you don't know very well, you should try to talk about everyday topics. Don't talk about controversial topics that will make people feel uncomfortable. One topic you should stay away from is politics. For example, many people feel very strongly about the President of the United States. You might offend these people if you make an insulting remark about the president. Most Americans don't like to argue with people they don't know well, and they don't enjoy discussing this topic with you. Another topic you should not talk about is money and how much things cost. Safe topics for small talk include the weather, sports, and your hobbies. How can you master the skill of making small talk? You can practice. But, think about it. In your country, you've probably done this before, right? You've had some small talk with people that you don't know well. And I think it's probably kind of universal what is okay to talk about, but it also could be related to your culture. And sometimes in some cultures, it's not even accepted to speak about your family or to speak about even politics within a family. It is just something that's not done. Okay, so let's look at the second part of informal responses. Some informal responses have similar meanings. You can respond to the same comment in different ways. So you can use the same sort of we call it idiomatic language. We're kind of just making a short response, and it may not be exactly word for word a definition that you can say, like, "You're kidding, right?" Like, that means, like, "Are you sure?" And sometimes we just say that to say it. We don't necessarily really mean it, but here's different ways that we can say things. "It's so cold today," and one of the answers is, "It sure is." And what would we say for that next? Oh, sorry, I hit the wrong button. Nope, don't want to check. I want to show the first answer. "I know, right?" You could say, "I know, right?" And a lot of people say that. "You remember that bridge they started to build 2 years ago? It's done." You could say, "Finally," or what else could you say? "I know," or "It's about time." I think when we say finally, we want to say, "It's about time." "What are you doing tonight?" "Nothing special," or "Not much." You can see there's not much. "It's going to be sunny this weekend. I'm going to the beach." "Awesome." Sounds wonderful. That should be the correct answer. "Can you believe I saw a famous basketball player in a restaurant last night?" "Are you serious?" "You're kidding, right?" And so when we're saying that, it's really kind of interesting because this person is saying, look, I saw this person, and you're saying, really, you did? You're kind of questioning what they told you they saw, but that's how we just answer sometimes in English. So here are appropriate topics: weather, hobbies, travel, work, family, sports, restaurant. Inappropriate topics: money, politics, age, appearance, religion, illness, gossip, for sure. And again, here are some small talk topics. Maybe you can practice if you're out in the community, you're shopping, maybe even when you're coming into school and you're riding the elevator with someone that you don't know, you can comment about the weather. Like, we've had a lot of rain this weekend, right? So maybe you could say, wow, we had a lot of rain this weekend, didn't we? Or it would be nice to see some sunshine after all that rain, right? You're talking about the weather and just making simple small talk. All right, let's go to lesson 6. So we'll do lesson 6 and lesson 7. And hopefully you guys are done with writing your descriptions. I will check to see if they're in the portfolios after I'm done recording this. Hopefully you are done with it, but if not, please complete that and complete all your student lessons for personal information. I will make a short video again, maybe Tuesday, and send that out to you, or maybe Monday night. Hopefully I can send it to you before we have class on Wednesday, and you can watch it for the education unit, okay? So what determines our personality? So we were talking a little bit about our personality traits before, right? So identify writer's key points, explain how the writer supports key points, use the ness noun suffix. Okay, so that N-E-S-S goes at the end of a noun. Computer is running a little bit slow. So genes, G-E-N-E-S. This is a medical term for genetics. What makes us who we are? People in the same family often look alike because they share some of the same genes. Our genes are passed down to us by our parents. So now for some people, if you are adopted, you may not know who your natural parents are. But some people do find out and end up meeting them, and that's okay. But this is assuming you are not adopted, okay? And these are your natural parents. Do you look like your parents? Do you have the same characteristics? For example, in my family, I kind of take after my mom and her mother and her mother. So my great grandmother was very short. And in my family, I am the very shortest person. I have two brothers that are over 6 feet tall, and I'm about 5'1". So the genetics happen to follow my great grandmother, who was about 4'11", I think. She was very short. That's my mother's grandmother. Okay, so we're gonna look at the vocabulary again. Evidence, environment, nervous, build confidence, shy, influenced. And again, when you're doing your student lessons, I do want to go show you vocabulary practice. Okay, you guys can do this vocabulary practice. You can work on the vocabulary practice. So here, right here, what determines our personality? Okay, and here are these words that are going to be seen throughout this, in module 1 in this lesson and this activity. What determines our personality? So we can see here are all these words, okay? You can click on the word, you can listen.
Effect.
And you can record. Affect. Yeah, see something's going on. I have to get into the background in my computer. I'm having some trouble with recording. But again, remember that you can always go over to vocabulary. Sorry, I'm out of the, if I'm in student lessons, that's where you're going to be able to see it, okay? You click on the 3 dots, vocabulary practice, okay? That's where you'll be able to see. Oh, and I'm still in the student lessons right now, so you can see here are these words that we have been, some of these words that we just are looking at in the sentences. Okay, so you will have these words to practice with in your lessons. Okay, so do our genes determine who we are? Let's see if this is going to show up in the student lesson as well. It's the same. Yes. So it is the same thing that you'll be looking at. You'll be listening to this. You can listen.
Do our genes determine who we are? Ray just graduated from college. It's time for him to get a job. But he's scared to go on job interviews.
Okay, so you'll be able to listen to the same thing and answer the questions. Okay, and then you can listen and read along, and you can also just read it. And then while you're reading, you'll be able to see that you see some of the vocabulary words from the vocabulary section. So for this instruction, it talks about presenting evidence. Sometimes a writer makes a point and then presents evidence to show why the point is true. So if we look at paragraph 2, okay, so here's paragraph 1, here's paragraph 2. There is evidence that certain personality traits are genetic. Scientists have found that many shy adults were sensitive babies. They cried more and they were easily scared by loud noises. The babies were probably born that way. They weren't sensitive because of life experiences. They were too young to have any. Scientists believe we may be born with other personality traits as well. So, what point does the writer make? Okay, he says that it sounds like our genes may influence some personality traits. So it says right here, there is evidence, there's our evidence, right? Presenting evidence that certain personality traits are genetic, right? They come from our genes. Our genes come from our parents. What evidence supports this point? So what is he saying? What is he telling us then? What examples is he giving us? He talks about many shy adults were sensitive babies. That is the question, right? He talks about scientists have found that many shy adults were sensitive babies. What point does the writer make in paragraph 3? So that's the next paragraph down, okay? However, the environment also affects our personalities. Okay, so here he talks about genetics. Now he's talking about environment. Our environment may also influence our personality traits. A, what evidence supports this? So then he talks about children in daycare, often less shy than children who stay home with parent or babysitter. One reason, here's a good look for that word. One reason may be that in daycare, children can practice their social skills. Over time, many shy children learn how to feel more comfortable. There is also evidence, look at that word, that adults can learn to be less shy by putting themselves in social situations. So, children in daycare are less shy than children who stay home. Parents and babysitters help children to practice their social skills, or shy people feel uncomfortable in social situations. It's that next sentence, children in daycare are less shy than children who stay home. There we go. So again, look for that evidence as you're reading and look for the word. There is evidence that shows this, okay? And then Again, it's a practice in looking at context clues and what some of these words mean. And you could do that in yours. So this is just looking at your personality traits, which we worked on a little bit, I think, with Katya's lessons on Monday or on last Wednesday. Those are just some things you can think about for yourself. So now we're looking at the suffix -ness or the suffix ness. The noun form of some adjectives ends in the suffix ness. For example, Ray is shy. His shyness affects him in many ways. Okay, so shy is that adjective, but a noun, we add that ness, and now we have friendliness or loneliness. So here's an adjective. Here's the word kind. What would the adjective be? Kindness, right? And how about what is the noun form of friendliness? Friendly. There we go. And what is the adjective form of happy? Happiness. 2 S's. And what is the noun form of loneliness? Lonely. Okay. I think I spelled that wrong. Lonely. There we go. Okay, so remember, spelling is important. They will always. Okay, let me think about this. Why do they say they're all wrong? I'm not really sure why they're telling me they're wrong. So let me look. Oh, okay. Complete the table. Oh, I'm sorry. I did it upside down, you guys. Sorry about that. I was supposed to be doing it this way. Friendly, friendliness, kind. This should say kindness and number 2. So I kind of did it the wrong way. Okay, so loneliness is lonely. I just typed it in the wrong space. And happy is happiness. Have the right words, just in the wrong places. So we're just going across. I thought they were going up and down, but we were going across. All the words were correct, but in the wrong spaces, sadly. Okay, so again, drop in. We're looking at these same types of words: shy, lonely, kind, happy, or friendly, with the noun form. So you're going to change this, right? Complete the sentences with the noun form. So again, you're going to add NESS to the end. So let's look at friendliness is a very important personality trait. It's easy to overcome shyness. Try putting yourself in social situations where you don't know anyone. Loneliness is a big problem nowadays. Kindness to animals is very important. People should take good care of them. And what's our last word here? Happiness. You can find happiness in different ways. For example, some people have jobs that they enjoy a lot. If you have a job that you really enjoy, that can lead you to being happy. So yes, happiness, right? That's a nice thing. It's a good thing to have, happiness. All right, and then I'll leave this for a sec. If you want to read over those, you can always pause the video as we're going through these. You can pause to read everything. I'm not going to read everything just so that I can keep this hopefully short. It seems like it's going to be a little more than 30 minutes, but I'm going to be on the last one, life skills, a social security card application. So you're going to learn about applying for a social security card. This is very interesting because right before the pandemic, I need to, unfortunately, my social security card has my previous name when I was married. It actually has my first name, my maiden name before I was married, and my married name. But after I got divorced, I chose to go back to my maiden name, but my social security card never got changed. And I was just about to do that before the pandemic struck. So I have to go through this situation as well. I don't have to apply for a card because I have one, but I do have to get a new one. So I will have to do the same thing, interpret information on a Social Security card application. Okay, so I will have to do that. I have to fill out an application and go, I believe, in person. I don't think that sometimes these things you can't do online. You can fill out something, but you have to go in person. So the government gives every eligible person a Social Security number, and this number is used for identification. So this is what our Social Security card looks like. Okay, we get this from our government, and I'm not really sure to tell you if you're eligible for one or not. So I believe if you are a resident, if you have a green card, you are eligible for a Social Security card, but don't quote me on that. I'm not positive. Okay, so these are different types of identification: Social Security card, student ID, which you can get a student ID at Joliet. I think actually downstairs at the desk, but I will ask on, I'll ask and let you guys know on Wednesday, but I'm pretty sure that you can get the ID right in that office in the front that's across from the elevators. Driver's license, we use that to drive, and an employee ID. So I have an employee ID for Joliet, right? And you see me wearing that. It helps me get into the classroom. Okay, so we're looking at vocabulary. So these are vocabulary words that go along with the whole idea of coming to the US, becoming a citizen or a resident, and certain things we need to look at on these forms. Citizenship, legal alien, legal guardians, race, name, foreign country. So these are all things that, and if you're applying even to be a citizen, these are things that are part of the forms. There's a it's like 16 or 18 pages of documents to fill out when you become a citizen. Before you can get to you fill out the documents, you send them in, you get fingerprints, you go for an interview. Okay, so let's look at these words. What goes along? What are these titles? Okay, name, and then there's the name. What would be in the next place? Race, Asian. Yu Yan's parents died when she was a child. She grew up with her aunt and uncle. They were her guardians, legal guardians there. Okay, they didn't have just guardians, sorry, legal guardians. When she first moved to the US, she was a what? Legal alien. She was allowed to live and work here even though she was from a foreign country. Today, she has US citizenship. Okay. So to me, it sounds like she had to come to the United States to be with her aunt and uncle as her legal guardians. That sounds like what that's happening there in that situation. All right, so here is this application for the Social Security card. There's quite a bit of information. Okay, decide if the sentences below are true or false. Correct the false sentences. So we see here's the name. All right. Here's the place of birth. So was she born in Chicago? No. Bogota, Colombia. Was December 6th. So let's look at the birth date. December 6th, 1985. No. June 12th, 1985, because remember in the US, we go month, day, year. Month, day, year. She's a citizen of the United States. This box is a little bit hard to see, but here's the US citizen box. Legal alien allowed to work. So no, she's a legal alien. She used to have a Social Security card, but she lost it. So let's see if there's a reason. Has the person, this is number 11, listed in item 1, ever received? Yes. Okay, yes. So let's see if there's anything else. So it says yes, that she has received a card. So it's possible that she lost that. True. Gaia declares at the end of the form that her answers on the form are true. All right. I declare under penalty of perjury that I have examined all the information on this form and it's true and correct to the best of my knowledge. That is where you are saying legally this document has the correct information, and it is against the law to put incorrect information on a form. Okay, you need to make sure that you have the exact correct information. Okay, true. Gaia's parents completed this form for her. So let's see where it might ask. Name to be shown, citizenship. That here's all of her parent information. Today's date, mailing address, your relationship. Okay, so number 17 says your relationship to the person in item 1S. Okay, so 1 is Gaia, right? What is her relationship? That is herself. It says self, which means that she filled out the form herself. So that's false. She completed it herself. So if this was checked parent or legal guardian, that means someone else filled out the form, not Gaia. But she filled out the form herself. So again, when you're looking in your lessons and looking at the form, okay, you may have to make it bigger on your screen because there's a lot of small information on here. You have a different name, a different person, but the same information. So you might want to make your screen bigger. My screen's at 75%. So see, now it's at 110 and we can see the information much better. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it there for going back to our in-class lesson. We can see everything a bit bigger. And you can also, while you're watching the video, you can make it bigger. Skipping items. Some items on forms are voluntary. You are not required to complete them if you don't want to. Other items are only for certain people. If they aren't relevant for you, you can skip them. So, for example, right here it says other names used, and Marisol does not have a different name. Possibly if she was married, she might have another name, or if she had been known by another name, then she would write that there, but she did skip that on the form. Let's see. So, parent, mother, social security number. She did not put that number in. She skipped this part on the form and she didn't even click unknown. She just skipped that. And also with the father, she skipped that. And it's possible because they don't have social security cards because she was born in Colombia and maybe they are in Colombia as well. So let's see, which items did she complete even though she didn't have to? So let's see. I don't really know exactly what they're looking for because okay, so number 6, let's look closely at number 6. Here we go. Are you Hispanic or Latino? Your response is voluntary. So that should say number 6 and number 7. Your response is voluntary. That means you don't have to answer that question if you don't want to. That is voluntary. Usually on forms, there's like a little red star or a dot, and on the bottom it will say required. The answers are required. This one says your response is voluntary. And let's see, why did she skip some things? Other names used, parents because they don't have a social security card. And let's see, 12. She skipped 12 because she never had a social security card before. That's interesting. I don't know why they said that. Has the person ever received a Social Security card before? And she did mark yes. She didn't skip number 12. I really don't know why they have that as the answer. That's interesting. That seems like a mistake to me, but I don't know. I'll have to ask our representative about it. But again, you're just looking for that fine print on that form. So proof of identity and age. So right now we are doing something in Illinois called the Real ID. And I think we have to get it by October. So if you do not have a US passport, which if you have come here from another country, you have a passport, not a US passport, but you have a passport. But to get a real ID, you have to show a lot of proof of your age, your name. I mean, if you are married, you have to bring your marriage certificate. There's a lot of stuff you need to bring to get the real ID. And the real ID is going to be required you can't just use your driver's license to fly. So you need a real ID or you need a passport. So it's something that you have to do all this proof of identity. When you apply for a Social Security card, you need proof of identity and age. You need to show who you are and how old you are. So here's a list of documents: driver's license, US passport, state ID card, employee ID card, school ID card. Okay, that's for your identity that shows who you are. And proof of your age is birth certificate or a US passport. Proof of identity, US passport. Identity and age should be on your passport, because you can see passport is on identity and passport is on age. What do you need for proof of identity? School ID card, employee ID card, anything that's in this identity category. Documents that aren't in English have to be translated. Do you have many documents that are not in English? Excuse me, are they translated? So yes, if you have documents and you are needing to show proof of identity and your documents are not in English, for example, a birth certificate, they need to be translated into English. And I have no clue how that would work, but I'm sure there are people who know. My birth certificate is in Spanish, but it's also translated into English. Yeah, you would need that at some point. Okay, so imagine you call the Social Security Administration office to find out how to apply. So that's just a role play you can think about. How do I apply for? You can also go online and look up the information. Everything is online today, but it will probably tell you, right, if you cannot do it because you have to show documents. So for example, for me to get my correct Social Security card, I do need to go to the office and show them my birth certificate so that they can see on my birth certificate my name, my birth date. I'll show them my driver's license as well, but I need more than one proof of identification. Okay, so now I'm going to go to student lessons and see if I have seen in the write a description, if I see you guys have put this in portfolio. So if you haven't finished it, please finish it, because I will, and let me make sure that I get our correct class. I see one only in there, which means that there needs to be one more in there at this time. Oh, and that's actually the one I wrote. So, yeah, you know what? I am in a different side of Burlington. So, okay. that is for another class. So I will check and see if your writing is in there, and hopefully you can, if it's not, it's okay. Please have it completed before class on Wednesday, because I will be printing it in class on Wednesday. Okay, everyone. Hope this was good for you to have a little bit of a lesson. I'll see you on Wednesday, and we will start module 2. That's, I believe, on education. Bye. Take care, everyone. I'll see you on Wednesday.